In the ancient kingdom of Judah, during a time of darkness and bloodshed, God preserved a flicker of hope through a child. This is the powerful story of King Joash, the boy king who rose to power at just 7 years old. A story of survival, faith, betrayal, and the enduring sovereignty of God. The story of Joash begins not with his birth, but with a massacre and terror. His grandmother, Athaliah, the daughter of the infamous King Ahab and Queen Jezebel of Israel, had married into Judah's royal family. When her son, King Ahaziah of Judah, was killed, Athaliah seized the throne by murdering all possible heirs, including her own grandchildren. Determined to wipe out the royal line of David, the very royal lineage God had promised would one day bring forth the Messiah. But God had a plan. Jehoiada, King Ahaziah's sister, secretly rescued baby Joash, the lone surviving son of King Ahaziah, and hid him in the temple with her husband, the faithful high priest Jehoiada. For 6 years, Joash grew up in secrecy, sheltered within the temple walls, while Athaliah ruled with tyranny. But God's promise to David would not be broken. Jehoiada and Jehoshaphat nurtured Joash in the ways of the Lord. The boy king learned not only to walk and talk, but to know and revere Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He would be a child of prophecy, a fulfillment of divine preservation. The lamp of David would not be extinguished. In the 7th year of Joash's life, the time had come. Jehoiada orchestrated a bold and sacred move. He gathered the commanders, Levites, the loyal priests, and key figures in Judah, and he swore them to secrecy. Together, they brought the young Joash out of hiding. In a public ceremony in the temple courts, the young Joash was crowned king. The people shouted, "Long live the king! Long live the king!" When Athaliah heard the shouting, she rushed to the temple. There, she saw the boy standing beside the pillar, a crown on his head, and the people proclaiming, "Long live the king!" She tore her robes and cried, "Treason! Treason!" Athaliah tried to stop them, but it was too late. Jehoiada ordered her execution. Evil was removed from the throne, and her reign of terror ended. A new era had begun. Joash became king at just 7 years old, not by force, but by the hand of God through the faithful courage of Jehoiada. Under Jehoiada's guidance, Joash grew into a righteous king. The young king did what was right in the eyes of the Lord as long as Jehoiada lived. One of his first acts was restoring the temple of the Lord. Years of neglect and misuse had turned God's house into a ruin. Under Athaliah's rule, the temple had been desecrated and its treasures plundered for the worship of Baal. Joash commanded the priests and Levites to collect offerings from the people to restore the temple. But progress was slow, so the king initiated a new system. A donation chest was placed outside the temple for voluntary offerings. The people gave generously, and the temple was restored with integrity and care. This period marked a spiritual revival. Idolatry was purged, the temple worship was resumed, and the covenant between God and his people was renewed. God was honored once again. Judah was, for a time, realigned with God. But light and darkness cannot dwell together, and then everything changed. After decades of faithful service, Jehoiada, the priest who raised Joash like a son, died at the age of 130. With his death, Joash lost more than a priest. He lost his spiritual anchor. Without his mentor, Joash faltered, and it didn't take long for evil to creep in. Joash, now fully in control, began to listen to corrupt officials. Flattered by their words and craving independence, he abandoned the God of his youth. Idols returned, and the covenant was broken. The Asherah poles and altars to Baal, once torn down, were rebuilt. God sent prophets to warn Joash, but he would not listen. Then came a final warning, this time through someone very close to the king, Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada. He stood before the people and declared, "Why do you transgress the commandments of the Lord, so that you cannot prosper? Because you have forsaken the Lord, he also has forsaken you." 2 Chronicles 24 verse 20. And what did Joash do? He betrayed the very family that saved him. The people conspired against Zechariah, and Joash gave his consent. In a chilling act of cruelty, Zechariah was stoned to death in the very temple court, the same place where Joash had been crowned king. His last words echoed through the temple, "May the Lord see and avenge." The boy who was saved by the temple had now turned it into a place of bloodshed. Zechariah's words were not forgotten. Soon after, God's judgment came. The Arameans invaded Judah with a small force, but God allowed them to triumph over Joash's larger army. Jerusalem was looted, and Joash was wounded in battle. And in the end, as he lay weak and broken, a conspiracy rose within his own palace. His own officials, likely disgusted by his betrayal of Jehoiada's family, turned against him, and he was assassinated in his bed. Joash, once the miracle child of Judah, died in disgrace at the age of 47. He was buried in Jerusalem, but not among the kings. He was denied burial in the tombs of the kings, a final dishonor for a man who had forgotten the God who raised him up. The story of King Joash is both inspiring and tragic. He reminds us that it's not how you begin, but how you finish. God is faithful, even in chaos. Though Athaliah tried to destroy the Davidic line, God preserved Joash. His promise to David was not broken. God always keeps his promises. Godly mentors matter. Jehoiada's role was crucial in shaping Joash's early reign. He was a spiritual father, protector, and guide. But Joash's faith did not endure without him. But faith must be personal. Joash obeyed God while Jehoiada lived, but his faith was not his own. When Jehoiada died, so did Joash's obedience. True faith must be rooted in a personal relationship with God, not merely in the influence of others. Gratitude is essential. Joash's betrayal of Jehoiada's family is a warning and led to his fall. A lack of gratitude can lead to a heart hardened by pride and sin. God always sends warnings before judgment. Through prophets and even the son of Jehoiada, God tried to reach Joash. God always warns before he judges, and we must be willing to hear them. God's justice is sure. Zechariah's final words were fulfilled. The Lord did see and avenged. Will you be like Joash, clinging to faith only when others hold you up? Or will you stand firm in God, no matter what? Though Joash's story ends in sorrow, it also reminds us that God's plans cannot be stopped. From the line of David came not just a boy king, but the King of Kings, Jesus Christ. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful Bible stories that still speak today. And remember, the flame of faith must be your own.